listening to Get Real KC with Jen and Erik. Kansas City's consumer-facing real estate podcast.
Hey everybody, welcome to Get Real KC, where we are overflowing with a passion for all things real estate. I'm Erik Jurgensen.
I'm Jen Justice.
You go.
I'm Aadyn Delgado.
I'm Becky Mullies.
We should probably figure out that order before we start these.
Been a while. We're rusty.
That is. All right, everybody, welcome to 2026. It is today's dream, where we are going to, once a quarter, go through what's going on in the Kansas City market, share a little bit about what's going on in our own personal real estate businesses, and maybe some other anecdotes as well. Come along for the ride. All right, Jen, let's start them out. Let's bore them to death with numbers like we normally do.
Oh, listen, these are real estate numbers, and I don't know if you guys heard, but I gave the most exciting real estate presentation and possibly one of the most exciting presentations ever that the Smithville Chamber has seen, friends. So,
oh yeah, I tell you, they were jumping up and down in their seats. I felt like I was at an NFL playoff game.
Maybe not quite that
Yeah,
exciting.
maybe not
but,
that exciting. All right.
Yeah, who won again last night since the Chiefs aren't in? I can't even remember.
Yeah.
49ers.
No, football season's over for me.
49ers.
Bills.
My other teams didn't win, but we still got the Seahawks and Denver coming up. So let's go. Anyways, hey, local market. These are December in 2026 stats for the whole HMLS area, which encompasses about 40 counties. But closed sales, we saw an uptick of 2.9% year to date and 3.2% for the month of December as compared to 2025. In the breakdown of actual closed sales and metrics, that's 2,984 sales in the month of December. And year to date, we had 37,505 sales. So, woo woo.
So yeah, we get asked a lot, like, is the market going down? Is it going up and whatnot? And you got to remember, when it does those things, it's doing it by small percentages. There's lots of other very important things that impact housing and affordability. But would you say 37,000 homes in the area sold in the last year?
37,505 for the whole HMLS area.
And that's year to date. So that's
increase of 2.9% from previous years.
From 2024.
Mm-hmm.
So in
and then price wise, we saw average sales price increase 2.2% for the December month end over last year. And then for year to date, our average of 7%, which is what we talked about multiple times on this podcast.
Really?
Is
So
our
the
market.
whole area had
6.8%.
6.8% increase in valuation in housing.
Which is 357,773,000 to the increase for year to date of 381,970. And that was your average sales price.
Average? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And we'll hit median real quick. Median sales price, again, an increase also for the month of December 2024 to December 2025. There was an increase of 1.6% for a $310,000 to $315,000 median sales price for the month of December. And then your year-to-date increase was 5.2% median. That's 305 to 320,711.
So, right, and maybe as we break it down into some of the counties, maybe we just look at year to date, because the year since we have
Let's
it.
go year to date since we have it. That's a way better statistic. Probably we don't care.
What we just heard was there was an increase not only in the average sales price, but in the median. And that's really important, because the average can have a lot of really high-end homes dragging the average up, but the median is, if we take all the sales, and we line them up, and there were 34,000 sales, the median is sale number 27,000 from small,
And I really love this for our market.
Or 17 or whatever.
I really love this for our market and for our people, because this is more of that cyclical, steady market that we've talked about, not those massive swings like we're seeing in Florida, Texas, California, or that kind of U shape of the country that kind of tends to have those greater swings. I got hit one time in teaching a class because I said California, and they're like, Texas and Florida see those too. So I've gone with the U now. And New York could be encompassed in that too, right? The U of this country tends to be a little
coasts,
more,
Midwest
coastal.
has always had a better housing market.
It tends to have a little bigger swings, whether it's positive or negative. So love to see this healthy Midwest market. On days on the market just briefly. And I love this too, because this this gives people an opportunity to make good decisions time-wise, but also your sellers don't have to wait forever for their home to sell, which used to wait 6 months or so. So days on market for year to date went from 40 days last year to 42 days this year, which is an increase of about 5%.
Right. So let's break this down into just a couple of counties. So I'll grab Jackson County. So Jackson County had 10,132 sales in it in the year of 2025. And that's actually down by 1.2%. So that's a little bit less sales, right? It's essentially about 120 less sales out of 10,000. So not significant. So we'll call that pretty level. Prices, though, did go up. And so what we see is we see a 3.7% increase in the average sales price. But what's more telling, I think, is the 4.8% increase in the median price. And so what that tells us when we're looking at the numbers is that the less expensive houses actually gained more. Right. So they gained more in terms of their value. So their market price went up more than the higher expensive houses. But either way you slice it, 4 or 5 or pushing 4 or pushing 5%. Right. That's really kind of in that general. We expect real estate to go up 3 to 5% at a minimum every year unless there's some significant change. And that's what's happened with the exception of 2008 since World War II. So that's really what we expect to go on.
Which, Eric, I will say, sorry to cut you off, but I mean, that just kind of shows, especially because you're saying the lower priced houses are they're growing at a higher, or they're appreciating at a higher rate than the higher end homes, which just kind of furthers that demographic that we all know, which is that the lower end houses are it's a harder market to shop in. There's more competition typically, and especially with the appreciation rates, a lot of that has to do with the fact that there's such a shortage of those in comparison to these higher ends.
Right. And when we say lower end, let's not suggest
More
that these are,
affordable.
they're more affordable.
attainable.
This is stuff up into the 300,000s. This is not,
$50,000
$50,000
houses
road.
that, do I tear it down or,
No, and we literally
Yeah.
just said the median sales price in Jackson County is $272,500. So we're certainly not talking about $50,000 or potentially not even
Right.
$100,000 houses in that.
we're talking,
what we would
we're talking
consider more
about
attainable
very livable
rate.
houses.
Yeah.
I'll certainly
Sure.
be curious to see these a couple years from now when there's some stadium changes, how the Jackson County's impacted.
TBD, Becky.
We'll see. We'll see. Stay tuned
And by
for
the
that
way,
long. You
that's
have to subscribe.
2031, sweetheart.
Yeah,
So
okay.
that's like more than a
Yeah,
couple
Exactly.
years.
So you should subscribe and check in 6 years.
Yeah.
let's I'm just laughing like I'm really old in 6 years. Let's take a look at Clay County before we move
Aiden,
on.
you want to take Clay?
Yeah, I'll take Clay. So the closed sales, we have 3,901 year to date. That is up 3.8% from
All right, go Clay
2024.
County.
And then the average sales price is 371,490, which is up 1%. Then to our median, we have 335,000. That's up 2.4%.
So Clay County's
Constant
prices went up, but not in that range that we typically expect. So they did have, right? So
A more modest appreciation.
yeah, and I mean, I know people would call that like
Thank you
negative.
to the assessor, Tracy Baldwin, for not overassessing us. So I
Yeah.
know not everybody agrees with that, but I'm going to go with that on what we're seeing here that he echoed for the most part in his assessment. So thanks, Tracy.
So still growth, just not as much growth as the area as a whole in terms of appreciation. All right, and then how are we doing days on market?
We're at 39 days on market, and that has not changed.
So stayed
Wow.
stayed
the
steady.
same.
You know, and we're seeing that 40-ish, 39, 40, 42. I mean, that's pretty consistent so far across the data that
Yeah.
we've looked at.
Absolutely, 40 in Jackson. So
Yep. And then what about percentage of original list price, Aiden?
We're at 98.6%, which is down 0.5%.
yeah,
So we're still getting pretty close to the list price of what people are doing
Yeah.
a good job pricing houses, we'll say. And then we're getting real close to what that list price is still.
some of that
Little
though,
negotiation,
Some of that, that's
but
not one of the misleading parts about that particular stat is it is original list price now that right so
Yeah.
that's good but for coming out of the pandemic it was 102 and 103%, so now we're doing better.
this is consistent with what we see in the market, though, because last year we were still at almost 100% of list price. So sometimes you're still getting maybe a smidge over list price, and I might have an example of that when we talk about what's going on in our personal real estate businesses. But last year was 99.1%. This year is 98.6%, which is a difference of only 0.5%.
Right.
But this is consistent with what we're seeing in the market in terms of negotiating either some additional closing cost with inspections or negotiating a smidge off the purchase price for inspections. But it's real consistent with that 0.5% of the list price for the percentage received.
Absolutely. I would say that what we're seeing currently is more of a return to normalcy, right? What the market was pre-pandemic. We're seeing homes stay on the market longer. Now, the way potential clients or maybe even real estate agents are reacting to that are a little bit different than they would have 5 years ago, or at least in some cases. But we're seeing the buyers have a little bit more a negotiation strength than they had when you just couldn't find a house for the life of you, and so as we've said for years now, right? We think this is much better for the consumer.
Yeah, and I do want to say there's exceptions to this still in the market. There are examples where if the house is just a unique, prim and pristine, like you get those sometimes, and there is going to be multiple offers, and as a buyer, you're going to have less ability to negotiate that, and you may or may not be able to look at that home twice. Right.
And, but that was the case.
But as a rule, you can now.
That was the case 5 years ago, right? Every once in a while, you'd run across a house, right? And maybe it's more often than it was pre-pandemic, but it's that's always going to be the case where somebody is priced right.
I don't want to say always, but
that there's
it's
always
likely right now.
I mean, unless you're coming out of 2008, right? I mean, unless you have,
then it was
there's
30,
always going to
40,
be anecdotally
90,
some houses that go
6 months,
really fast.
a year.
Right. And and it could be a variety of factors, or it could just be happenstance, right? It could just be, hey, you got lucky on the right weekend and the right 4 people came to see it. And so
even if it had been on the market 7 days and then that weekend hits and then all of a sudden you get multiple offers.
Yeah.
That happens.
What if you're thinking about listing your home, what we really want to tell you is,
especially if you're thinking about listing it for the spring market, now is the time.
Yeah.
I do want to say that. Like if you're waiting and you think you want to list your home in spring, you're getting behind the 8 ball if you're not talking to your realtor now.
Yep.
Well, there's no question about that because typically it takes some time to prep when you go through it. But but the other thing you need to be prepared for is that it is not likely that you're going to sell your house the first weekend or maybe even the first month. Right. So, and these are not panic scenarios, right? This is the
normal
way the market is, right? So we've been seeing the trends to that as we go through the stats for the better part of a year now, and I think we're getting really close to it. So,
Becky, you want to do our Platte County updates?
Yes, I do. Let me get in the Platte section. So this is all going to be year to date, but as far as year to date goes in closed sales, we are at 1,625. Average sales price, we're looking at 456,387, which is up 3%. As far as median goes, we're 394,970. That's a 1.3% increase. And then days on market, we're at 52, which is a 26% increase, 26.8% increase.
Yes.
So we went from 41 days last year to 52 this year. So that's a pretty big jump. And then percentage of original list price received, you're looking at 98.1, kind of falling in line with Clay County, kind of same thing, which is down actually 0.7%. So from last year.
And what I'll say about Platte County is this days on market may be reflective of the higher priced homes that they have
Absolutely.
in
For sure.
Platte County.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so it does take
And they have some new
longer.
construction up there too, and that
the
definitely.
national Riss Lake.
Right.
Just giving a couple examples of some higher end neighborhoods that are in Platte that those homes do take longer to sell. So if you have what we would consider more of an executive home, we'll call it approximately 700,000 plus. If you have one of those homes, expecting that to sell in 40 days, which is the average, is probably a little unrealistic because a smaller percentage of the people can afford those homes because they are more expensive. Your monthly payment's going to be more. It's a more intensive situation. So the expectation on those higher end homes is maybe a 6-month selling window, maybe even a year if it's a really, really expensive home. Because
Right.
again, those buyers out there for those mansions, we'll call them, are this
Sure.
many people,
Yep.
right? Our median is still that 350-ish window, maybe a little lower, give or take. Those are the homes we're going to see sell in about 40 days.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I will say something that I've seen across all of the stats so far, including Platt, is the closed sales are still up. And I will say, from as far as my connections go in the industry, I've been talking to a bunch of different loan officers recently and a bunch of different agents. And really everybody that I've talked to has expressed that they are busy still in the winter. They've
Yep.
been busy. This has been one
And
of
we
the
were too.
busiest winters that they've. I even had people say that in the fall time they had nothing happening, and then winter hit, and all of a sudden something happened, and now we've all got these clients.
Well, we can talk a little bit in a minute about what possibly has happened. Just a quick flash into Johnson County, just to kind of take a look at it. So Johnson County's had a 10% growth in closed sales for year over year. So they sold 10% more. That's pretty significant homes in 2025 than 2024. That price average was up 5.4%, and median was 3.9. So the average sale price in Johnson County, $563 and change. So not particularly unexpected. Where we see the largest strength of our property value growth. So whereas Clay.
Come play North for the World Cup. Go North.
Clay and Platt, had growth, but maybe not to what we would typically see annually. Johnson County, and where Jackson County did fall right into it, Johnson County surpassed it in terms of appreciation growth, because from an average, it's just over 5%. So their days on market stayed flat at 37. Year over year, so still pretty good, strong demand, and they're receiving 99.9% of original list, our original asking price. So
Yeah.
still incredibly strong in Johnson County.
And don't know that the Chiefs Stadium is going to Johnson County, but it sounds like it's probably going to Kansas. So
Yeah.
Well, no, it's definitely going to. Well, didn't they make the agreement with?
they made the
Wyandotte?
announcement, and nope, I don't think the official
Or
agreements.
Unified?
Nope, I don't. Unless it changed in the last 7 days, the mayor of Wyandotte County said no
Yep.
formal agreement has been made with her yet.
Yep.
Okay.
So
Well,
unless that changed, they made an announcement. So Governor Laura Kelly
Right.
and CEO of
watched it,
Chiefs
yeah.
Clark Hunt made an announcement that the Chiefs Stadium would be moving to Kansas. And after that, the Wyandotte County mayor came out and said that no sales tax agreement or any of that has been made yet with the Chiefs. So TBD on it going to Wyandotte County, but likely somewhere in Kansas is the
Consensus, yeah.
consensus, and they will be financing it through Star Bonds, it sounds like.
Well, about 70% of it. Yeah. So I kind of deep dove into it, and
We don't want to digress too much, but I just wanted to point that
Yeah.
out since
So, yeah.
Becky made the comment about the stadiums earlier. And if you see us looking over this way, I want to comment that Erik has an amazing setup in the podcasting studio, Lucky 13 Studios, which is where we are today, podcasting and coming to you on our YouTube channels. So we have an awesome screen for people that might want to host a podcast here, and a great setup. So just wanted to point that out if you see us looking over.
All right. Appreciate the plug. Very nice. Thank you very much. I think I'll start us off because we've been talking about sort of this affordable home range, which and I've got a client right now that we've been out looking pretty seriously in that range. So we've been looking up
What's
to.
even affordable anymore?
Right, yeah. Well, we've been looking up to 350 is where we're at, and so a lot of these homes that. And there's a couple of topics I kind of want to bring up, but here's an interesting thing that happened yesterday. Actually, is coming out of touring a home. There was a woman, very nice woman. We ended up chatting for a little while, who was renting in the neighborhood, from my understanding, and she was actually trying to peek in the windows, right? Because she was just walking around and saw the sign and everything. And
I saw the sign.
yeah, that's right. And so she was concerned about. House values. She's like, all of these, how much was this one being listed for? And the one we were in was being listed for $3.25, I think. And she's like, oh my goodness, that's crazy expensive. And so we kind of had a discussion that she hadn't really been paying attention to the market very much, and was a little bit shocked at homes that 5, 6, 7 years ago were 250,000, and now they're closer to 350,000.
Good education piece.
So yeah,
And I'm sure you gave her the podcast information for
I
this
did.
Get Real
I
Casey
did.
right
I
here so she
absolutely
can learn
did.
more.
I absolutely did. And so one of the things I kind of want to bring up for us to kind of talk about a little bit, and I know we've talked about it on podcasts before, but I want to get kind of specific and maybe a little bit more of a positive scenario. While Jen's over here cleaning up her email, by the way, very nice, Jen, very nice. A lot of stuff that we're going to go see is stuff that has been flipped.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
And I can tell you, I know at times in the past, I maybe have talked about flips in sort of a negative light, because there are good flips and there are bad flips. And you certainly need to be careful about the bad ones. But, when you think about it, when we start talking about 1940s, 1950s, 1960s homes, right, that are in neighborhoods that have serious affordability to them, well, they're built to those standards. And now you have somebody who's going to come in and remodel and rehab a home, which we desperately need, right? So this is an important service to our community. And yes, they're doing it for a profit, but we still need it. One of the things that happens is as homes get reconfigured, right? Because, 3 small little bedrooms sharing 1 bathroom, and that's it. And stairs that kind of come from the garage. And now we want a big open kitchen, and we got to figure out how to put in a second bathroom or potentially build an ensuite, right, for a primary bedroom and all of that. What we see, and I'm sure you guys have this experience too, is we see the people who are doing the remodeling having to make what I would call tough choices.
Yep.
Right? Now,
They're working on a budget and
Well,
get
they're working.
into
They're
some
working on a
stuff.
budget, and they also have a physical layout that isn't conducive to what people want in modern homes. So, and I also work closely with an investor, and we have these problems too that we
I
discuss.
know. I will say though, while we're on this line of conversation, that I would love to see maybe an expectation shift in what we've got going on in the United States of America. And that shift would be that post World War II, we had houses that were 3 bedrooms, 1 bath, 1 car garage. And that was a starter home.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that price point was a lot lower.
Yeah. Oh,
Right.
yeah.
And that's how we got people, instead of being 40 years old for the first time home buyer, which now is the average age of the first time home buyer, that's how we got people in their 20s into homes.
Oh, I know where you're going.
And
Yeah.
so I would love to see a shift where that is the starter home and people are okay with buying a home and starting out there. And we have some nice homes that are 3 bedrooms, maybe 1.5 baths, maybe 1 car garage, maybe even on a flat. But that is where we get back to maybe a 200. And I'd love to see this. Builders, I hope my builders are listening because I'm running a campaign, so I'm not building this year. But I would love to see us get back to a place where 200 or 250 is back in the equation. And I'm hoping that we can do it with that adjustment of expectations to where we can get that first time home buyer age back down. That could be on 1/3 of an acre, which is a typical lot for a home that we now see that's 350 to 500,000. And that's why we see that average age increasing, because that is unattainable for the same buyer that could afford a $200,000 house, of which I think I'm talking about building in that smaller floor plan. So,
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
so there's 2 strikes against us when we look at that. There is, right, and we've got a couple of young people here at the table. So the first, I think, is, honestly, I think this stems from I want my children to have it better than I had.
And I do too, but
Right.
Yep.
And so
Let's
I
get
think
started.
I think what's happened generationally over the last couple of generations is that the expected living standard. I'm not going to move to a place like this because I expect to live like my parents did, which is a challenge.
yeah.
Right.
That's why I'm
Right.
talking about adjusting expectations.
Yeah,
maybe.
and so that's number one. And
Because I
then-
started with a pretty small house when I was 18 years
oh,
old.
yeah.
I bought my first home at 18, but I'm going to tell you guys, it was a Cracker Jack box.
right. I mean,
And I was cool with that.
my wife and I certainly we've been through we've owned 3 homes, 4 homes. Heck, I have to remember now. But yeah, we started with a home that wasn't the end all. Then we moved up to, oh my gosh, I call it, we lived in a rich person's home for a while, and then downsized right? Back to something reasonable. But you know, that was sort of we were following that pattern. So we ended up in a home with 3 adults living there, and that's it, 3 adults, and it was 3,600 square feet.
Yeah.
It's just ridiculous. Which, you know, at some point we finally realized it and we downsized. But
and if capital gains wasn't such a nightmare for me personally, I would honestly probably downsize too.
Right. So it becomes kind of a twofold thing. The second piece of that is that builders can make a higher profit on a higher end home. So we have to have builders dedicated to, hey, but just like post World War II, these don't have to be super luxurious. They don't have to have all the bells and whistles. Right. They don't have to be, they can be kind of cookie cutter, right?
Yeah, and so I'm working with a client right now who's trying to build in the affordable price range.
Right.
Pretty tricky to find. However, there are ways, and we've been strategizing on this quite a bit. So one option would be not anything custom, essentially. So, I mean, you can't go to a builder with a budget in the affordable range and say, I need custom cabinetry and custom doors and walkways a certain way. And say, give me your 10 layouts that you mass build, and I'll pick from that bunch. And that's one way. And
That's
then
one way to get
another way
pricing
is
down.
to looking into manufactured homes. And so we're definitely going to be exploring that, because there are some really nice ones. And of course, you have to do slab, utility, whatever. But that's all stuff that can be done, and this program is fantastic and not really well talked about, but it's an option out there. So USDA 0% down build, and it's going to allow somebody that would be shopping in probably a $250 maybe priced market, and they're going to build a brand new home.
And what I'll say about manufactured homes, what's interesting, and I think this is where expectation adjustment can come in, manufactured homes can be built in a facility where all of the factors are stable, right? So there's no crazy weather, there's no freezing temperatures, there's none of that, right? So when you have that stability in the environment that something is being built in, it can actually be built better. It won't always, because there are quality control concerns in every level of housing, quite frankly. So that's why you get an inspection. But when we build in a stable environment, sometimes those manufactured homes can actually be of better quality and put together after the fact. You just have to worry about concrete pouring and that sort of thing in the atmosphere and the cold freezing temperatures and the rain and that kind of thing. But the manufactured home itself can actually be built to spec better than when we're building a stick build out in all of the elements, which is kind of crazy to think about. But, you know, I think people have a tendency sometimes with manufactured homes to think, oh, that's less than. But I think, again, that's just an expectation adjustment for the market, where we can really improve our ability of first-time home buyers for affordability and for a better future, because they can buy at a younger age because it's more attainable.
Yep.
Right. And then they start building that equity, right? And that's that generational wealth.
Yep.
So anyway, that's, you know, I've been doing a lot of that. Aadyn, what's been going on? I know you just had a nice little close.
I did. So we closed about a month ago, and we had a couple hiccups with the sewer line. So always get a sewer line inspection. Those are important because those could be very costly repairs. That's something that I learned. That
It was
I think,
$7,000.
Yeah, it was $7,000,
Wow.
and it could have been worse.
Oh, yeah.
If we had to go through the street, I think it would have been like $26,000.
But you caught that in inspection.
Oh, yeah, we
caught
did.
that in
Yeah.
inspections.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And we worked with a great seller's agent. And what I'll say is, if Dream Properties Real Estate had not been batting for this client, the wool might have been pulled over our eyes a little bit. We were very adamant about some things and went to bat for our client, because that's what we do here. And it wasn't easy. And it did provide for some tense situations, but in the end, we were able to make sure that our client would be protected and that our client would not incur some crazy amount of money should this happen. And then we encouraged our client to get sewer insurance on their policy after the fact, just to double make sure that
I always recommend that
Yeah.
sewer line.
Yeah, it's like $20 a month.
Yeah,
And
I mean,
for a
or even less
$20,000
than
repair,
that, I
yeah, it
think,
could be even less, but I'm just saying it. $20 a month for a $20,000 repair. Those numbers work okay.
Talk to your homeowner's
Yeah.
insurer
Yes, please.
about it. Please do. But yeah, those are crazy. Yeah,
Great
so
job,
that's-
Aadyn, by the way. Aadyn did a fantastic job, and I had very little to do with it. I just know about it because he just double checked it. Great job.
Awesome.
Thank you.
And Becky, you had one that also had a sewer line issue.
Yeah, 'tis the season, I guess. And the specific location, it seems like maybe that's a commonality there
Or
as
just
well.
the age of home and then big
exactly.
trees.
Well,
Yes.
and then the Northland, I was talking
The
to...
way the soil settles.
Yeah, I was talking to I'm going to say a geologist. I don't know what they were, but somebody who understood.
Geotecher.
Yeah, somebody, and they're like, yeah, the Northland of Kansas City actually has a lot more movement in it than the Southland does.
Yep. I remember interning and Erik telling me this exact thing, by the way. And every time I try to remember it, I'm like, I remember I had gone on an internship run and Erik was with a client that was looking north and south of the river. And I got this big brief on how the soil settles. And anyways, I need to re-up my knowledge on that. Maybe Erik will give me the scoop later. But yeah, no, we had some sewer problems. It was nothing really that serious. It was just some balls of roots in the line. And so we had to get those hydrojetted and a couple of times, and then we eventually got it clear of the way and everything ended up okay, and there was no collapsed lines or anything, and so fortunately it worked out and sewer insurance did not have to come into play. But
Well, I mean, they got it in case for later. Is
yes,
what we hope.
exactly,
Because
exactly
if the
that.
line has had trouble,
Yeah.
then it's probably it could have trouble in the
if there's
future.
root intrusion and you clear it
Yeah.
out, there's going to be root intrusion again.
Yeah.
For sure. Now, I will say one thing. Of course, you should have a sewer professional, advise you on this. But something with this line is about 130 feet.
Oh, that's
and
long.
they had the way that their line sat was there was no outside access. First of all, there was only inside access, and it was kind of in a weird spot. It made it really, really, really tough for. We had some repair work done on the sewer as well as the hydrojetting. It made it really hard for us to get in there, and so the actual outside addition would have been about $6,000 and that was a discount from what it would be because they were already doing some work
to
anyways.
put a connection, clean out from the outside.
Exactly,
Yeah.
a clean out from the outside. And in which case they said that the hydrojetting would be cheaper in the future because you only have to do such a part of it and whatnot. And so that's the part that, it does make a big impact over the life of the sewer line to add that clean out, but not everyone has
It's easier.
$6,000, $7,000, $8,000 laying around.
Yeah,
so.
yeah, a lot. Yeah, sure. All of our home buyers have an extra $6,000
Exactly.
cash in their pockets.
Yeah, right.
Not.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, it's interesting when you talk about these things and you negotiate them, and not always, but in the vast majority of cases, right, your seller has got some equity in the house,
Yep.
and so and they negotiate from this position as if they didn't know that buyers typically don't have a lot of extra
Yeah.
cash because they're having to come up with, a percentage of down payment, even if it's only 3% or 5%. That's usually a big chunk of money. So
Yeah.
I always find it interesting. So we have these discussions about cash flow, and so anyway. It's just kind of one of those crazy things. I'm going to float out a question, and what does anybody at the table think about pre-inspections for listings?
Actually just did that on, I guess I'll go now, my part. So the listing that I had in Platte County was a very unique listing, and we talked and decided to do a pre-inspect just because of the age of the home. And they had done a pretty good job updating everything, going through everything, and they photo documented everything. So I'm working with a wonderful seller that I've known for almost a decade there. But I discussed it with him, and he said, yeah, I'd like to go ahead and do that, actually, because I always offer it. Most people don't want to do it. Typically, it is an extra few $100.
Yeah.
But this particular person did want to. Discovered a couple pop seals on the window and a couple of electrical ends that needed tied. But other than that, the pre-inspect came back very clean, and we rectified those issues. And then I put the pre-inspect up with the listing.
Absolutely.
And this particular listing went over list price in 7 days. So very excited about that. And then for my personal stuff that went on, I had a couple of closing, and then I was support for Aadyn, support for Becky, and Aadyn, Erik, I'm sorry, I've called you Aadyn twice today. I don't know why. You
I
look
think you
so
have to
much
apologize
younger.
to Aadyn.
You look, but he looks so much younger, right, guys?
Yeah.
Anyways,
How do I look younger?
it's the hair.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It looks so well kept. Anyways, so Erik also had a closing in December with an investor client that we
I
have
did,
worked with
yeah.
for probably 8 years now. This investor client has closed a couple of deals with us, plus their own personal home. So great relationship there that we really appreciate. If they're listening, they know who they are. And so
Great couple.
Yeah,
right?
great couple. We love working with them, and we are really proud of them and their wealth building that they're doing and how responsible they are, and the quality housing that they're providing, quite frankly. It's very refreshing. And anyways, shout out to Erik for closing that deal. I know you had that up on your agenda and you're working with a buyer again now, so I want to give you guys all props for all of your amazing closing in December. And as we said, a lot of people are slow in December. We're not, and we're not slow in January. We're going into it batting 1,000, and my campaign's going great. My daughter won a buckle in barrel racing. I did not, but I had a couple of fun barrel races in what month was last month? December. And time is flying. And then we've got Equifest coming up in January. So I'm praying that I get a shoot in. I'm praying that this lovely weather that we've been having in Missouri holds out, and hoping to get a shoot in January. That's
Nice.
Jen would be the only one. Tippy said she didn't want to buckle after she just a couple months ago broke her rear.
I actually have won a buckle since then, though.
Yeah.
I don't know if I said that on the podcast, but my first shoot back in Oklahoma, the Shootout for Hope, I won the 40 buckle. So yeah, and I got a really. I'll give a shout out to Maria Mertz. I don't know if she listens to our podcast or not, but shout out Maria. She made me the coolest matching belt for Christmas that she gave me for a gift to go with my belt buckle.
Oh, that's
It's
super
got it's perfect for mounted shooting. So it's got the end of the 45 bullets all the way around the belt. I'll try and wear it next time maybe and just like show it on the podcast. But Quality Leatherworks by Maria Mertz. So if you're looking for Quality Leatherworks, Maria Mertz, man, whoo-hoo.
It's in the name.
Oh.
It's in the name.
Yeah.
Hey, I want to steer us back to real estate, and I want to talk about because I was talking about people who flip homes, right?
And pre-inspections.
And pre-inspections.
Yeah.
And I kind of want to tie this into disclosures. And for anybody who's thinking about listing their home, and then anybody out there, we know we have agents listen. If you want your home to sell better than it has been, I'm going to tell you what to do, and here it is. Here's the industry secret. Plaster that disclosure with every human thing you can think of. Everything. I can't tell you, first of all, how angry it makes me to get to a home that's flipped and then go get a disclosure where they go, sellers never lived in home, and you just remodeled the damn thing. You know everything about the house, right? That ticks me off. But for just your average seller, right? Look, write it down and take time with it. And by the way, your agents should be sitting down with you and reviewing everything with you and asking questions, leading questions. Have you had any problems here? Water problems? No drips at sinks. No, they should be doing all of this, because I can't tell you how impressive it is to have a disclosure that puts down things that you don't care about.
Yeah.
It just goes to integrity and honesty.
It does, right? And so if you see one that says, oh, and by the way, here are the 4 water problems we had, you're living on, you've had dripping sinks, right? You've had a busted faucet. This has happened. And so you write all of this out, and then how you corrected it. Or if you haven't corrected it, here's the, right? We did some rework in my basement at home, and kind of exposed a wall that hadn't been exposed for quite a while. And I see a small crack with some effervescence around. And like if I were selling my home today, I would put, there's a small crack with some effervescence, is like the residue of very small water seepage, right? And so I would put that down, because why would you? And then other people who look at it go, wow. Right? They're being super honest, and they care, and they're selling it on. And trust me, the fact that your faucet drips, which is a 30-minute, 30-cent, or probably $3 fix nowadays, right, to put a washer in or something.
Let's call a plumber.
Yeah, or even if you call a plumber and it's $100 fix, or nobody cares, right?
Just tell us.
Yeah. But they get impressed with. So that's one of the things that I always find challenging with a home that's flipped, that my client and I are currently finding challenging again, is these ridiculous disclosures.
I'll also say while you're on this that new homes are not exempt from inspections either.
Oh, gosh, no.
Okay. And I think that's a misconception sometimes in the industry. And maybe even the builder will lead you to try and not get an inspection. But let me just tell you, number one, the builder can't fill out that disclosure like a homeowner can because they hired subs. And they weren't there. And they can do their best to tell you what they thought the subs did or not. But I'm going to tell you that in my career, in brand new homes, I think I've had 3 hot water heaters that didn't work.
Yep.
And we went through the inspection, and lo and behold, either the hot water heater was not properly connected, or it in fact was just completely broken and it was brand new. And that happens. Same with dishwashers. Same with shower fixtures. Same with, and it's traditionally plumbing, I'll be honest, but electrical too.
I've run into home inspectors that won't run the dishwasher now.
Oh.
And so I ran into one that wouldn't do it.
Wow.
And,
Why? Might want to call a different inspector. I'm just going to go there.
You ready for their reasoning?
Yeah.
It might leak water all over the floor.
Okay, we kind of want to know that.
That's the point.
All right, we're not going to name names on this, but you're telling me who this was after because I'm not hiring them. But that's me. Anyways, so I just want to say that if you're buying a new home, it is well and great, but every home is like every brand new car. There's something wrong with it.
And if you're selling a home, not only should you fill out your disclosure, but if it's not a financial burden, there is nothing more powerful than in doing what Jen and her client just did, which is to have it pre-inspected, to make it available, and then to provide
the documentation that we did, the 2 things that were there.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Here are all the things we did. Like we
it.
fixed this, we fixed that. This was replaced, right? And so I have done that on my home sales, and man, they just go so much smoother.
And this particular seller, sorry, Becky.
Go ahead.
They replaced the septic tank because the home is, I'm calling this from memory, 75 years old, and it's probably had a couple of septic tanks, but it's on some land. And they photo documented the entire septic replacement, attached the permits to the seller's disclosure, and attached the photos and the whole process to the seller's disclosure. I mean, guys, I don't know that I've ever had a seller do that, but I'm so thankful they did because people asked questions about it, and it was easy for me just to attach that, and it was uploaded with the things. So fantastic.
Well, what I was going to say to both of your points is that even like in the inspection period, a lot of times what a pre-inspection can do is it actually makes it easier when you get to negotiations. You kind of already know what to expect, I would hope at least, because maybe you didn't do something, but you got a quote for it. Well, that's one less burden that the buyer now does not have to bear, and that's a time constraint. So maybe you got a quicker inspection period, but now the buyers are, I need to extend, I can't get my quotes out there, I can't get an inspector out there or what have you. And so doing the pre-inspection, doing pre-work, getting pre-quotes done.
And just a fun ad.
Effective.
Sorry, this just popped in my head. Erik and I co-worked a Parkway Towers transaction. We haven't closed a condo in a little while, but let me just tell you that it was absolutely so fun to close this condo down on the plaza. And the condo itself was actually really affordable. Would we end up at like $175?
No, it was less than that, wasn't it?
Anyways, very affordable.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
So condo on the plaza.
Hang on.
But the fee, I want to point out the fees.
Yeah.
Okay. That's where I was going next. Is that where you were going to go?
Yeah.
So I will say, while the condo was wildly affordable with an amazing front door person and an awesome view and a cool coffee shop right across the street, very attainable price wise, the fees are about $1,000 a month. But that does include your garage and your water and your trash service and all kinds of cool things. So, $1,000 a month plus that. What would that payment be? Like, I'm going to call it $900 a month, right?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, I'm going to call it $900 a month. This particular client paid cash, so it's a non-issue for them. But anyways, they were a neurosurgeon, and I'm so excited to have them in Kansas City because she was so amazing. I love her. Anyways, so for $1,900 a month, you too can have a 1-bedroom on the plaza at Parkway Towers, and we would love to show you that because it was actually really fun and cool, and we don't get to do that every day here at Dream Properties.
By the way, the comment I made to the neurosurgeon was, I hope I never have to see you professionally. So
she was such a lovely lady, though. And thank you to our partners in St. Louis for that referral because she was really awesome to work with.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, do we have anything else going on we need to share? Anything fun and exciting?
I mean, this podcasting studio is really coming together, guys.
Hey, did anybody make any New Year's? I call them New Year's revolutions. Has anybody got a New Year's revolution?
I do goal setting every year, twice a year. So I don't.
What's a New Year's resolution for anybody?
I was getting organized, and I've already done it, and it's only how many days in are we?
Yeah.
My whole closet's been organized. Thank you, Andrea Sheridan, for coming over on Saturday and helping me. And I got everybody their checks in a faster than time fashion.
That's right. You were definitely
organized.
being more attention to detail than is your typical.
I know, and it doesn't even hurt.
All right, Aadyn, what about you, buddy? Come on, what's your New Year's revolution?
I don't know. Probably get on taxes.
Get on
Get an early
taxes.
start on
Get an
taxes,
early start
yeah.
on taxes.
Yeah, because
Oh,
it's gonna be
yeah,
all new
pay
for you this year, isn't it?
Yeah, we're actually
Okay.
the brokerage will have 1099s out early too.
Yeah,
so,
we'll have them probably out this week.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
go us.
Very exciting.
Yeah.
Becky, New Year's revolution.
I did not set revolutions, whatever you call them, whatever. Anyways, I did not set any, but currently occupying my headspace outside of work personally is finding curtains that I don't think are hideous. So I'm looking for a curtain. Right
Finding curtains.
Yes, and that's I said
Because
outside of work.
she's
You
a
are the
thrifter
only human being-
marketplacer.
You're the only person I spend a lot of time with
I spent
that could make their year goal related to shopping.
No, just this month. Just this month.
Right?
This month, I must find curtains for my bedroom that are not the worst thing ever. And that's outside of work. Because outside of work, I need things to take my headspace. And unfortunately, these curtains, I ordered 8 now.
Oh my.
Yeah, and they still are just all bad. So we'll figure it out.
Hey, I got an idea. It's an old school idea. I don't do it anymore.
Could
but
happen.
you could
I went in
actually
person.
Go in
I
person.
went in
Yeah, to
person.
Target.
I went to Walmart. I went to Target. I went to TJ Maxx. I went to all the stores.
What about
the
at
stores.
home? At home.
Okay, I've not been down.
Okay, go there.
I'll have to try there.
Hey, and guess what? We all kind of have more time because your Raiders are out.
Yeah.
The Chiefs are out. So
Yeah, well,
I'm
he's
not
used to it.
occupied.
I'm used to it.
Oh. Hey, so we're not
All right, hang on.
too preoccupied with football.
Before you immediately suggest that you'll never use Dream Properties real estate because he's a Raiders fan. He was born in Vegas, right? And his father
It's
was
not
from the
his
Bay
fault.
Area
From
and
California.
always a Raiders
It's
fan. He
okay.
comes by it naturally, right? So
loyalty.
it's not his fault.
I only shut
Now-
the door on him once at walkthrough because he
The
was
Raiders beat the Chiefs, though.
Oh, yeah.
barely.
Yeah, your
barely.
first stringers beat our third
Oh,
stringers
okay.
Wasn't
barely.
I'm sorry,
Stringers,
everybody.
we
I'm
had, like,
sorry.
our
We need
third
to get
string
this
quarterback.
thing
On a
over
real
with.
note, though, my actual goals this year, though, I do want to read more books. I
you
made
go.
that end of the year mission last year, and I actually did do it and committed to it. And I read 80 pages in one day. That's a lot for me. That's like,
Ooh,
for some months, that's more than I read in the whole month.
I'm on that too a little bit, and I'm reading Kenny Chesney's book, and it is
I do love
one of the most well-written books I've listened to part of it because it's in his voice, and I've read part of it, so I have the paper copy too. But it's literally one of the most well-written books I've ever read in my life, and it's so interesting the struggles that he had for his level of success. I'm loving it.
Love it. See, I
Crazy.
like that.
Absolutely crazy.
What's yours, Eric?
Well, let's see. Don't need to share a whole lot of details, but we're gonna be more on top of our health this year. So,
All right, I like it.
Wow.
Yeah, me too.
those
go.
I resonate with that as well.
so
Yeah.
maybe after a while I'll share some details. But
Okay, great.
all right, well, everybody, that's it. That's what's going on in our lives. That's what's going on in our real estate and what's going on in real estate here in Kansas City. Another great episode of Get Real KC. Until next time.
You have been listening to Get Real KC with Erik Jurgensen and Jen Justice. For more information or to contact our hosts, visit us at dreamhomesbyjen.com, where you can find more episodes exploring real estate as it matters to you.